as we're going live, just going to take a deep breath. Feel free to join me. A deep, long breath in and letting it out. Deep, long breath in and letting it out. And a slow, long, deep breath in. And out. I needed a moment to ground. I am here with beach hair, still in my bathing suit, and feeling like a happy camper. I got to see one of my friends today. What's nice about being around for a while is that you get to have friends that you've known for a really long time. So I have a friend that is in town from California, and so we got to go to the beach this afternoon, and it was super great. It was cloudy, and I brought the umbrella, and so it was a really nice way to just be out in the sun without being in the crazy Florida sun. But my hair looks kind of funky today. I have ocean hair, so oh well. But that's okay. But I still have both earrings. I accidentally wore them in the ocean. So that's where I'm at today, and feeling pretty good. I'm feeling well, feeling introspective, and I was sitting in quiet before going live, and I'm very proud of myself that it's only 7:15, and so I'm here a little bit earlier, which it's been nice doing the late night talks, but my sleeping has been very weird, so I'm trying to get back into a routine, and so here I am. And I had something planned for today. Most of these I have not planned too far in advance. They've been channel downloads. And then I was getting some requests, and I was going in that order. And what I'm realizing by just the sensations in my body is that I have to go. I want this. I still want the request, so still feel free to keep requesting. I just might not do it in the exact order that was asked. So I'm going with the sensations in my body. And so, as I said, I was hanging out with my friend, and we were walking the beach and collecting shells, swimming in the ocean, and catching up. And what's really nice about having certain friends that are on a similar spiritual path is that we can go deep really fast and talk about things that are very meaningful and hold sacred space for each other in a way that is empowering for each other, and respond, and also just hold space for any emotion. And what's super nice about that is, hey Denise, what's super nice about that is that there's not a feeling of need or a feeling of a pulling feeling. It's more of a sharing, and sharing what we're learning from what we're going through, and it's not a spiritual bypassing where we just automatically jump to it's all love and light, and it's all meant to be, and everything happens for a reason. And although those things are true, as we're walking in the trenches and going through human things, we get to have real emotions. And so if we spiritually bypass, we actually rob ourselves of that emotion. And so we rob ourselves of the experience and of the lessons that come with allowing yourself to feel the depths of the emotions. So it was super nice to hang out with my friend that I've known since a very long time ago, since the 90s. And we had lost touch for a little bit, and then we reconnected, and it's we jump right back in. So even when we were in our 20s, we always went really deep. We both have been on a spiritual path. And so it was super nice to hold space, which is what I'm used to, but also it was super nice to have space held for me. So as a coach and a healer, there's not as many people that can hold space for me. So, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but it's just the truth. So it was super great. And I felt when I was driving away, just lighter, right? Just lighter. And there is actual studies that show that being at the beach, having your feet in the sand and swimming in the water, biologically will shift you. And you could look up negative ions. If you are a science person, you want to know the why. And so it was just great. So as we're having these big conversations, we were talking about things from all kinds of relationships and things that we're encountering and life experiences. We went, I'm guessing that those of you that have friends that you could banter with, you sometimes, especially if you haven't seen somebody in a while, we go from subject to subject. But everything was like, I learned this and I approached it this way, and oh, have you thought of this? And everything just felt like expansion. So between the environment, which is expansive and healing, and then the way we were sharing with each other, and we didn't have to show up perfect, right? We showed up with like, this is what's going on, this is what I've done, this is how I would have done things differently. This is where I'm feeling ashamed. This is where I'm feeling guilt. So it was super nice to be able to share like that. And that's how I like to run my classes and my circles. And of course, my coaching, right? My coaching is a no judgment zone, always, always, and always. And so when you get to have friendships that are no judgment zone, it's very special. And so... So this led me into a conversation that we were talking about with the word judgment. And my friend was mentioning about, like, especially like in she's just revisiting dating, and she was talking about, about judging, meeting new people. And it activated something in me, not in a negative way, but in a memory that I had and a story that I wanted to share with her, that I thought, as I sat down tonight before going on live right now, that this might be a good story to share here publicly, because I feel that this was an awakening that I had when I was in my yoga teacher training process. So when I did my yoga teacher training, it was 2008. And so those of you that are yoga teachers, you can think back and remember, it's such a tender, beautiful time. At that time, I had already had a spiritual awakening. But if you've been on the path of awakening, typically there are many of them. And that was just ripping me open in the best and worst of ways. I had just come off of probably the most traumatic breakup that I had experienced to date at that time. And so I was just so raw and open, and it was looking back now, it was a beautiful time. Anyway, back to my conversation with my friend today. So we were talking about, she was mentioning how, it's okay to judge, and because I'm always studying and living with awareness of frequency and energy, right? So our vibration, like how I'm sitting here with you, if I didn't sit and ground myself before going live, my vibration and frequency would be different than what it is now, and you would feel it. You might not see the color of my aura, but you could feel my vibration. And so, okay, so I get so passionate that I lose track. Anyway, so back to the conversation. So she was mentioning about judging during the dating process, especially in the early part of the dating process. And it reminded me of going back to that time when I was in a situation. So as I mentioned, I was in the middle of my yoga teacher training, and I was very raw. I had come off of a very big breakup. And so there was just so much raw about me, and openness and just a seeking. And so I made friends, obviously, in my yoga teacher training class, and certain people I became good friends with, where I hung out with more than others. And one of my good friends at that time started partaking in some things that didn't feel in alignment with me. And because I was in this process, I was so raw and open, and I was struggling with this because it activated me, what was going on with her. It didn't feel good to me. But I didn't want to judge, because here I am learning about light and love and opening my heart, because yoga is not just about the asana, the physical postures, but there's also the theory behind yoga and the 8 limbs of yoga and how do we live, right? Yoga is a lifestyle. So I was struggling with, how do I not judge her? But it didn't feel good to me. I didn't want it near me, and I felt really bad about how I was feeling. So I was having this internal push-pull within me. And I don't recall exactly how I came across this terminology, but once I saw the word, hey, Margarita, once I saw the word, I looked it up to get deeper into the definition, and I started to search more into the meaning of it. And the word was discernment. And it was as if it came to me as an answer to my prayer, because here I am with this dear friend who was partaking in things that didn't feel good to me. It didn't match with my, moral system, and I did not want to judge her. So I was struggling with that. How do I receive this? I came from my culture, not my whole culture, but people I grew up with. There was a lot of judgment, and there was a lot of talk of judgment of others, and it was very commonplace, and it never ever felt good to me. Even as a little girl, I would cringe at the idea of judging other people. And even at times when you are a product of the 5 people you hang around with the most, I caught myself sometimes judging just on autopilot, and I was reprogramming myself of that. So, hey Kirk. So once I discovered the word discernment, oh yeah, I see a comment. Discernment, I know that one. Yes. And so as I sat with discernment, that was the answer to my prayer, because I didn't want to judge my friend. And I also didn't want to ignore what felt good in my body and what didn't feel good in my body, and where I was surrounding myself with. So once I realized the word discernment, the distinction between discernment and judgment is this. When we judge, we make somebody else good, bad, right, or wrong. And who are we to judge somebody else? Discernment means you get to discern what feels good in your body and what you want around you, in you, and near you, right? So that if somebody is practicing something that doesn't feel good in your body, you don't have to judge them, but you also don't have to be around it. And that's when I pull back onto more of a bird's eye view, that's more of a yogic principle of acceptance or non-attachment, right? So we get to accept everyone as they are. And as I was talking with my friend today on the beach, we were kind of peeling that apart, where it kind of made more sense. And I could think about times where I might have fallen into judgment, where I have fallen into judgment and not discernment. And I'm not proud of that. I am not proud of that. But I am a human. I am a spiritual being having a human experience. And in the human experience, we are not perfect and we make mistakes. But the beauty is where if we are able to look at ourselves and tell ourselves the truth, which is not always rainbows and butterflies, and tell ourselves the truth, and then we can make conscious shifts. And so I'm getting a lot of downloads right now. So we can tell ourselves the truth, and then we can make shifts. The key is to making these shifts without berating ourselves. Like if I caught myself in a judgment, and I said, ooh, that doesn't feel good. It feels contracting in my body, and I want to shift that, right? So I could shift the mindset. But if I stay with that feeling of ooh, and I can make myself bad and wrong and contract inside, or I can say, good job on catching it. What's a higher thought now, and how can I shift that? That's an expansion. That's a learning, and that's how we start to embody these things. So back to the whole story, I realized the distinction between judgment and discernment, and it relieved me of any guilt or shame about wanting to shift the dynamic of this friendship, where I didn't want to make her wrong because she wasn't wrong. She was doing what she felt was right in her life, and for me, it was not right in my life, and I didn't want to be around that. And so I kind of shifted the dynamic of the friendship. I didn't cut her out of my life. I didn't, do anything crazy, but I just gradually kind of pulled back a little bit because it didn't feel good to me. And she got to be who she was. Now, if she ever had a question and said, what do you think about me doing this? Then she's giving me permission to share my opinion. But it is not my place, and it is not my business what somebody else does. And I've shared this in other videos. You can't take a person's path from them. But especially when somebody is not really asking your opinion, then it's none of our business. So over the years, as I've come back to remembering the distinction between discernment and judgment, it has also helped me stay connected with my intuition. So if I have an intuition about somebody or something or some place, I can listen to it in my heart, and I can do it without feeling guilty, without feeling shame, and definitely without judging the other person. And I can always come back and make the pivot if I feel that judgment comes up. Wait, I see a comment here. Happy to see you doing a podcast. Oh, thank you, Margarita. I miss you. We'll see you soon, hopefully. So that was my little riff and experience today as I was sharing with my friend today, and I felt like it opened us both up because there were things coming up in both of our lives which at a choice point we can easily judge or make a discernment, right? Because everyone in your circle or everyone that comes into your life is not going to always feel the same way you do about everything. And if we can reduce the amount of judgment in this world, we can make more space for love. And really the outer is the reflection of the inner. And I know I've been guilty of this, so I can speak on this too. How many times have you noticed you judging yourself? Maybe you didn't get, the date that you wanted, didn't get the job that you wanted, didn't get the client that you thought was your soulmate client, the relationship didn't continue, or whatever it is. How many times have you judged yourself instead of saying, okay, let's discern what's the next best step? Okay, this happened, what's next? So discernment is a softer energy. It includes acceptance, which opens up space for love frequency. And that's where we would like to be. And the more of us that start to live in the frequency of love, we can create miracles, we can manifest quicker our desires, and relationships can be expanded, and we can just feel better. And actually, you can touch into what is true for you and then act upon it. So that is my little riff today on judgment. And how we can soften around judgment and maybe start to reduce the amount of times that we judge when we know we have an option of discernment, so that we can live and let people let us live the way we live, right? So that you don't have to be judged, you don't have to judge, and we can create more people in the world that are liking and doing different things that are good for them. And when we cheer somebody else on, we're actually also sending that energy back to ourselves. So as I was cheering my friend on today about getting back into the dating world, I was happy for her. It lit me up to be lit up for her. And this is what we want. We want to lift each other up. And yeah. And to her point, dating somebody that she didn't really, have the connection with, she didn't leave judging this person as like a negative person, not good enough, or not this enough, not that enough. It was none of that. It was just a discernment. We had a nice time, and there was certain things that I saw that just weren't for me. And so where can you do that more in your life this week? I know a place I can. So maybe you can think of that too. So, all right. Well, have a beautiful, wonderful Saturday night. Thank you for listening with me, and allow yourself to connect with your intuition. When you create that space, when you let go of judgment, it leaves room for all this beautiful energy of intuition, and where you could follow the breadcrumbs of where your intuition is telling you and create miracles. All right, let me know how this lands for you in the comments. Sending lots of love. Thank you.